Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, news, social media, sports, everything really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guest from a show called The Expanse. We are speaking to Nadine Nicole. Nadine, welcome to Popternative.
Oh, thanks, Peter.
I'm really excited to do this. I'm a big fan of The Expanse. I'm not going to I'm not going to make it complicated, but space, eye candy, it just looks amazing. You know what I mean? Let's be honest.
The post-production is stellar. If you see it on a big screen, it is literally mind-blowing.
It is
well done.
It's crazy. Already 5 seasons of the show. It's crazy how time just kind of flies with that. What did you kind of think about in terms of you kind of working on the show, kind of seeing from working on the show and kind of looking at past seasons and everything? Talk a little bit about kind of the growth in terms of your character and what you've kind of noticed a little bit with everything going on.
Well, yeah, I have been kind of popping in and out.
Yeah.
It's middle of season 3 for a little bit, and then, kind of went to jail for a while, and then came back for part of season 5. And I guess during that time, what I've noticed is so many people on the set, they've retained. I think it's 95% of the same crew works here 6 years later. And so that just says a lot. The cast, a lot of them are still really dear best friends, and the producers and the showrunners and the writers are all, I consider just really respectable and amazing people.
It's amazing. One thing I've kind of noticed about this, Nadine, I'm sure you have as well. There's a lot of TV shows out there. There's a lot of fan bases for these TV shows. The fans for The Expanse are, dare I say, out of this world. I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe it. No, but the fans are special for this show. They love The Expanse.
You're so right.
It's just
they flew something into space to try and save it when it went off sci-fi and then got picked up on Amazon. I think we owe that to the fans.
Yeah.
And it's because they're stellar readers, really knowledgeable, and have a lot of foresight. If you're reading 600-page novels, 7 of them, you have something going on.
It's just but it's interesting too, because, you, like you mentioned, the books, the novels, right? There's the novels and then there's the show, right? It's kind of hard anytime. There's less pressure for you because you just kind of you're not writing anything. You just kind of show up and act. Yeah, you're smiling over there because there's not a lot of pressure. But it's always going to be kind of a challenge where you're kind of adapting something that already kind of existed, right? Because there's always what is it going to look like? What is it going to be like? You know what I mean? That is a challenge in itself. What do you kind of think about that kind of dynamic? Again, you're acting on the show, but that's going to be tough for the showrunners and the writers. It's going to happen. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, well, they stayed really close to the books for Clarissa Mao's storyline and Amos's storyline, which is really fun to see manifest. And then for other parts, they just pulled in different characters and put a lot of it into Kara Gee, into some different characters and pieced it all together. But they pretty much stay true from the seasons to the books and the arcs in general. But for sure, I think they're excellent writers. And like we said, they're really intelligent about space and science and technology and where we're going, in the universe. They know all of these things. They're very well versed in it. So, I think it's easier for them to put pen to paper. But as an actor, obviously, all jobs are challenging because we're always kind of this was new for me. I was totally fearful at first. I was like, oh my gosh, can I be a murderer? Can I do that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, your character is pretty. There's a lot going on with your character. Let's be honest.
Yeah. She's been through a lot.
What's that kind of seeing kind of the, like you said, been through a lot popping in and out. What's that kind of journey been with your character?
Really fun to learn from. Coming in and being, nervous, and then being really challenged to be like, okay, well, we're going to play out these relationships where she's going through, different murders, and, validating that experience, and really going to these kind of dark places where it is like daddy issues, like a lot of people throw out there, and finding just the realness in that and leaning into it, and then finding that transformation when she's not in season 4, but in the book she's going through all these revelations in prison, and coming out the other end with just new insights about the kind of person that she wants to be. So that was a really fun journey as an artist to go through. And now I get to lean into new parts of her that she's exploring.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just an amazing adventure.
People are loving season 5. So, like they're loving it. They're loving it so far. I mean, without kind of going into big like spoilers or anything, why do you think it? I mean, people love The Expanse. They're passionate. Moves from sci-fi to Amazon, but season 5's kind of hitting hard. Like I see it on social media. Like people are loving it. I mean, is it because of that kind of the fact that it's on Amazon? Do you think? Like I just think people are really loving this season of The Expanse.
Yeah. Well, it's a really good season because this book is one of the fan favorites.
Yes.
And it's because I think a lot of the characters that we fall in love with, like Naomi and Holden and the Rossi crew, they kind of split up, and you learn about their history and their backstory. So you get to go in and see their favorite characters, but in the realness of them, and get to know them on deeper levels. And I think that's super fun for the fans. And then you kind of bring it all together. So it's like a new territory for the story.
Wanted to kind of step back and go a little bit to kind of the early kind of days in terms of Nadine Nicole as a kind of like a storyteller and an actor. When did that kind of all start for you? When did you decide that performing and storytelling was something you wanted to do?
My mom started me when I was young in Michigan. We were just talking about the Midwest before we jumped on, but my mom's Filipino growing up in Midwest Michigan. And so people would say, oh my gosh, your kids are so exotic. They're half Asian, half white. And so you should get them into modeling. That's just what Midwesterners would say. And so my mom started putting me in front of the camera, and just kind of grew from there. Paid off all of my speeding tickets, parking tickets.
It's funny because sometimes on the show, I kind of ask, like, I want kind of my viewers and listeners kind of take away some stuff and kind of, maybe learn something and everything. And a lot of people kind of sometimes share their kind of thoughts or ideas or kind of like misconceptions on the industry and everything. One thing that someone told me recently, how important is it, whether you're on camera, off camera, how important it is to be like nice. Like literally, like you said, well, just to be nice, you know what I mean? I mean, is it safe to say that's kind of like the easiest and best advice you can kind of give to someone that wants to start in the entertainment industry? Just be nice.
Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, people are waking up at 4:30 a.m. going, there's hundreds of people collaborating to make this piece of art, and you just want to make people's days easier, better. They're long, and people work hard, they're dedicated, and it's just, you want to be someone that's easy to work with, that makes people's days brighter. It's not cool anymore to come to set and yell at people and be drunk. Like people, it's just not cool anymore.
No, it's just like
it used to be.
I was about to say like anymore. I'm like, maybe that used to be kind of a thing everyone thought it was good. Because I find too, like I like the fact that I've kind of been involved a lot of different kind of facets of the entertainment and the music industry and the sports industry. So I've kind of seen it all. The one thing I've kind of noticed that's just like the big trend is like the long days. Like the days are so long. You know what I mean? Like so long. And it's just like, in all serious note too, I mean, like, you're at one point though, if you're working like nonstop days working on a set, I mean, it's gonna take a toll on your mental being. Like it will. Like there's no way it won't. You know what I mean?
when we shot season 5 in the woods when it was freezing and doing that at nights when it was like negative 20 degrees. And we did that to the very end, Wes and I. And I went home and was sick for like 3 weeks after that. And you just wait for your body to collapse. You're like, I'm just going to get through it and power through. Everyone's doing a great job. Everyone's smiling. We're having fun. It's super freaking freezing. And then you're like, I'll just wait. And then your body knows like, okay, now I can die and exhaust for a couple weeks and then rebound.
I know it's wild. And
Yeah.
you mentioned the Expanse films in Toronto. Correct. So you were in Toronto right now, and it's one of those things where obviously, you know, people know about New York and LA and everything, but it's crazy. Like Vancouver's always kind of been there. A lot of people know a lot of things. Every time I talk to like an actor, I tell them like I'm from Canada. Like, oh, I love Canada. I've been there once. I'm always like, it's Vancouver. Like it's always like that. That's what it is. But have you noticed kind of as an actor, kind of working that like Toronto's kind of rocking a lot more now? Like a lot of good things are shooting in Toronto now.
There's so many TV shows and movies shooting here all the time.
Yeah.
There's stars and big wigs and just tons of fun stuff happening in the city. I mean, obviously this year with COVID, it's a different story, but they're still up and running, and they have been since the beginning, since August, I think.
I know it's been crazy. 2-part question. One's about the Expanse specifically. It's same question, but it's like part A for the Expanse and then part B in general. What is your favorite thing about being a storyteller? With the Expanse, and then in general.
Well, I think for the Expanse, I like that I get to play a villain that gets a second chance and gets a redemption arc.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's just so interesting to see people's reactions to, oh, I hate that person.
Yeah.
That's a daddy's girl with issues. And to being like, oh, I really understand when you make mistakes and you get a second chance, and I really can relate to that. And I think hearing people empathize with that is kind of the coolest thing. But in general, being able to storytell and reflect humanity back on itself is, I mean, we all are just binge watching TV and movies right now, and yes, it's that year, but we also do it because we love living vicariously and seeing our humanity reflected back at us.
Absolutely.
And I love being a part of that. That's just so cool. We're made up of so many different kinds of epic tales and stories and wounds and romanticisms and art and craziness. Like humans are all over the map, and just being able to reflect back some of those stories is just really fun.
That was a good answer. Can I just say that? Like, I don't know what else to say to that. That was a good answer.
That's what we do. That's where it birthed from, was like the Greek times and political realms where they would get up in front of each other and make fun of politics and just kind of reflect their own voices on each other to storytell their sadness away.
Well, I am Canadian. I told you this, but I'm also Greek as well. So it's a good...
Nice.
That was a
Nice
good little
combo
plug.
there, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Nadine, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. Thank you so much for your time.
So wonderful speaking with you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Where can people very quickly? So obviously, like season 5 of The Expanse, it's a go, right? Like on Amazon.
Yes, sir.
Which is amazing. And like, I mean, you're on the show, so like you're a little biased, but I'm gonna say like my viewers that you have to watch The Expanse. Like it is unbelievable. Like it looks so good. Like it's eye candy for space. Like, you know, you follow NASA on Instagram. Like I follow NASA on Instagram. That because it's just so pretty. The Expanse is just like so good. They like hit it out of the park. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
On Instagram, _, Nadine Nicole _
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much. And this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Nadine Nicole from The Expanse and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.